Hello, and welcome to this short and introductory presentation called What is Solutions Architecture and How to Become a Solutions Architect. This course will shed some light on the discipline of solutions architecture and will also cover steps on becoming a solutions architect. Please note that the term solutions architecture here specifically pertains to the domains of cloud/digital and information technology systems. So let's get started. The key topics covered in this presentation include the following. What is solutions architecture? Typical responsibilities and deliverables of solutions architects. The various other architects within the organization that work with the solutions architects. Examples of digital and cloud solutions that solutions architects usually work on. Architectural principles in solutions architecture. Then we'll get into the common career paths leading to solutions architecture and beyond. We'll also cover core skills required for solutions architects. We'll also cover soft skills which are required to work in the discipline of solutions architecture. And at the end, we'll have a bonus lecture where we will cover the next steps to becoming a solutions architect. Before we start this course, here are a few words about CIOTechCentral.com. CIOTechCentral.com provides expert and research advice on digital and the infotech industry. Specifically, CIOTechCentral.com provides the following: latest digital and infotech industry analysis, practical applications of digital technologies, and news and insights on career advancement in digital and infotech industries. CIOTech Central also provides one-on-one career coaching services for professionals in the infotech industry, specifically to aspiring solutions architects, digital transformation managers, and project and program managers. If you or someone is interested in these coaching services to help you get clarity on your career path in the digital, cloud, and information technology industry, feel free to send us an email at ciotechcentral.com or click on the link in the description section below. That will take you to a link where you can schedule a session with one of our top consultants. CIOTechCentral.com also offers courses on solutions architecture and other areas. Specifically, if you're looking for an introductory course on cloud solutions architecture, please ensure to see the link at CIOTechCentral.com from where you'll be directed to that course. You can also see the link for that course in the description section below. Finally, we encourage you to sign up at Twitter at CIOTechCentral, or you can email us at course@ciotechcentral.com. So ensure to sign up and start learning. So let's get started with this session. Let's discuss what is meant by the term solutions architecture. Once we understand this, it will set the stage for what's needed to become a solutions architect in terms of skills and taking on the right career path. First, solutions architecture usually shows how the system is meant to work from a technical perspective. So at a high level, the solutions architecture shows all the technical elements and building blocks of the system being designed and implemented. This includes applications, databases, network elements, data flows, system interfaces, and other components that make up the overall technical solution. As a solution to a complex problem may involve numerous elements and their related interfaces, a solutions architecture depicts an orderly representation of all those underlying technical components that can be used to understand the behavior of the overall system. A solutions architecture also shows the details of the interfaces between the various technical elements and building blocks of the system. For example, in the case of an e-commerce application, the solutions architecture of the system will show all the back-end interfaces to the ERP systems and also any interfaces to the supplier and vendor systems. A solutions architecture also shows how the various technical building blocks and interfaces shape the overall behavior of the system. So it's not merely about showing the technical elements and their interfaces, but also how the overall system will behave in operations from the perspective of functionality, security, application, and network performance, and so on. The solutions architecture process also involves selecting the right technologies. So it involves the selection of the right application frameworks and technologies that will be used to develop and implement the system. The solutions architecture process also ensures the identification of all technical as well as non-technical dependencies within the overall system required to formulate the final solution. So the resolution of these dependencies is crucial to ensure that the system in the works is deployed successfully to production and becomes operational. The solutions architecture discipline also covers multiple technical and non-technical architectural dimensions that are relevant to the complete functioning of the system. These dimensions are covered in varying levels of depth and detail depending on the scope of the project. Examples of these sub-architectures include like the application architecture and network architecture, database architecture, security architecture, and so on. Finally, we can say that a solutions architecture diagram also serves as a medium of communications when the team is designing and implementing the solution. It serves as a reference for the whole technical team, which frequently refers to the same document throughout the design and implementation phases of the system and solution. This enhances communications between all parties and stakeholders and facilitates the overall progress of the project. Here we should also mention that the solutions architecture domain is considered to be both as a process and also as a deliverable. As a deliverable, the document or documents that are created depict the overall physical and logical architecture of the system. Some of the documents that are created in this regard are called by different names, such as simply an architecture document or a reference architecture. And there are other names as well. We will cover a list of some of the common deliverables a little later in this course. A solutions architecture can also be thought of as a process, which results in various documents and deliverables. Again, as I just mentioned earlier, these documents show the overall technical components of the system along with all the interfaces and also document the overall behavior of the system. So in summary, we can say that the solutions architecture is a set of deliverables that are created as a result of a detailed process that is followed when working on a digital or a cloud-based system. This step is quite important before the system can be fully designed and implemented. In this slide, we will briefly discuss the various activities that the solutions architect engages in and the various deliverables that they create in that process. We should note that this list of activities and deliverables is not fixed and can vary depending on the project, its scope and complexity, and the organization type. Before we review the activities, I would like to highlight that a majority of the solutions architect's activities occur in the early phases of the project. This is where important architecture-related documents are created and agreed upon. Once they get approved, the project continues to proceed to later phases of design and implementation. So let's review some of those key activities. First is the solutions architect acts as a liaison between business and technology. They're the critical link between the business units and technology departments. They not only help the business understand the overall technology solutions, but are able to demonstrate and show the value of those solutions in business language to the business units. That's why the solutions architects are expected to maintain a strong relationship with the business units, as this channel is quite important for the completion of digital and cloud-based projects. In this capacity, solutions architects also work closely with senior management teams and ensure that the proposed solutions are in alignment with corporate strategies and mandates. In this context, they also constantly communicate critical decisions related to the project and program to senior management to ensure that there are no surprises toward the end of the project. Solutions architects also envision, design, and build the overall architecture of technical solutions by understanding a business's requirements and the problems that the project is trying to resolve. The key qualification of a solutions architect is that they have the ability to envision the end solution that will potentially meet an organization's business requirements. Although solutions architects may be expected to have knowledge of different technologies depending on project and business requirements, this is one quality that almost all solutions architects are expected to have, which is to be able to envision the end solution. Solutions architects also define the overall methodology that the organization uses to define the overall solutions architecture of the project. For example, they would define the key deliverables for the solution and how those deliverables are produced during the solutions architecture phases of the project. Later, we'll review some of the key deliverables related to solutions architecture. Another critical responsibility of a solutions architect is to evaluate all potential technologies that could be used on the project. This sometimes requires working on various proofs of concepts and trials and identifying the various pros and cons, along with how it will fit within the organization before recommending the technology to the organization and then getting it finalized. All large digital and cloud-based projects have a number of interfaces which are critical for the overall functioning of the project. So solutions architects work with various business and technical teams to identify all those interfaces and formulate an integration framework to facilitate the smooth functioning of the system and application. One obvious responsibility of solutions architects is that they identify all the key technical components of the system related to applications, networks, databases, data flows, and so on. Solutions architects who have larger responsibilities for a number of projects in the organization usually create reference architectures to help their organization's future projects. In this context, they also work on various best practices that can be adopted across the organization. So again, this was an overview of some of the high-level activities that solutions architects work on in their projects. Next, let's review some of the critical deliverables of the solutions architecture process. So while working on these activities that we just reviewed, solutions architects create a number of key deliverables. While the solutions architecture deliverables vary from one organization to the next, and also they depend on the project, some typical solutions architecture deliverables include these four. One is the process flow diagram. A process flow diagram typically shows the activities of the business processes and the systems and the data that is used in those processes. As a typical solution is created to facilitate a business process or multiple business processes within the organization, a solutions architect creates the overall process flow diagram to show how the solution will impact the resulting business process or processes. This, therefore, is a very common deliverable when working on the solutions architecture of the project. Another common deliverable that is created by solutions architects is referred to as the systems architecture diagram. This type of diagram shows all the components of the system and how they interface with each other and with other external systems. Creating a systems architecture diagram is quite helpful as it can be shared with other stakeholders within the organization and can ensure that everyone is literally on the same page before the start of the project implementation activities. A reference architecture diagram, which is another deliverable that solutions architects usually work on, is a general purpose architecture for specific types of projects, which can be used as a general blueprint for similar projects. For example, a solutions architect may create a reference architecture for IoT projects, and which can then be used as a guide to create similar IoT projects within the organization. The reference architecture shows ideas of various processes, interfaces, and even the tools and technologies that can be used for similar projects. Other than these diagrams, solutions architects also work on various descriptive documents that describe the various parts of the system, along with documenting risks, assumptions, and so on. So hopefully this slide provides you with an idea of the key activities that the solutions architects usually work on and the deliverables that they produce. We can use this as a foundation to understand the skills which are needed to become a solutions architect. As now we have a good understanding of what a solutions architect does in the organization, especially when working on digital and cloud solutions, let's review some other roles in the organization who work side by side with the solutions architect to create the overall solution. Large and complex projects usually have other architects working on the project as well. Here we will review some of the common ones that are usually part of most projects and organizations. Again, the actual responsibilities of these roles may differ from one organization to the other, depending on the projects and the business requirements. So here are some common examples of roles with the title of architect. The first one is the enterprise architect. An enterprise architect is someone who works at the higher organization level and focuses both on the business and technology aspects. But one of their most important tasks is to ensure that both the business and the technology dimensions are aligned with each other. But again, their focus is the overall organization and not any specific solution or system. The focus of the business architect, on the other hand, is on the business part of the enterprise architecture. So their focus is on business processes, business rules, business analysis, and so on. But in this capacity, they work closely with the technology teams to ensure that their business requirements are fed into the overall technology solutions that are designed within organizations. The data and information architect. This role should not be confused with the database architects. While database architects work on specific databases, a data or information architect works mostly at the enterprise level and is responsible for the overall information flow within the enterprise, especially related to the solution that they are working on. They also maintain a high-level view of the data across applications and systems and the value that that information or data creates for the enterprise. For example, a data architect is aware of all the information in the enterprise and works with various business units to recommend how that information can be tapped to get insights that can potentially advance the interests of the organization. So as for the database architect, they specialize in database technologies and are responsible for the design, implementation, and maintenance of solution-specific data models and databases. So each cloud solution usually employs a database architect, or there could be more, to ensure that the database requirements of the solution or system are taken care of. An application architect focuses on the applications that the organization is building, and they are responsible for their design, development, testing, and implementation. So their focus is on researching and knowing the pros and cons of applications-related technologies and how best to use them within the various facets of the organization. Application architects whose focus is deeper into the design of applications are also referred to as software architects. The focus of a network architect is on designing and building organizational networks. Normally, network architecture is a major discipline within organizations. But within the context of designing cloud solutions, the role of network architects may not be as large because the solution-specific scope usually assumes the existence and functioning of a number of underlying network capabilities and services. Similar to network architects, the scope of security architecture within the organizational context is also quite large. Their scope for a cloud solution is to ensure that the cloud solution fits within the overall organizational security framework and that the cloud solution does not expose any data or organizational assets to unwanted access. And there are other architects as well. We can say that as the role of these architects is quite specific, the cloud solutions architect, whose role is broad, works with all these architects to deliver the required solution to the business. In this slide, we'll try to get an idea on the types of technologies and projects that solutions architects usually work on. This will also help you to start thinking about the potential career path that you may want to take to further your objectives as a solutions architect. Let's first review the types of technologies that are in heavy use these days. So when we look at the technologies, we'll see there are a number of technologies which are being worked on in the industry, and they're all based on the cloud. For example, there are robots and automation-based solutions, augmented reality solutions, artificial intelligence and machine learning solutions, which are also built on the cloud, a lot of intelligent devices, accessing the solutions, accessing backend databases, and so on. 5G is coming into the picture for connectivity reasons. Quantum computing, social media platforms, mobility, gaming, software machines, IoT, virtual reality. These are all examples of different technologies that a solutions architect usually works on. Each solution may have one or more of these technologies depending on the project. And again, the common platform in all of these is the cloud. If we look at some of the examples that the solutions architect works on, they include, for example, migrating legacy applications to the cloud platform. So these applications are modernized and then they're moved to the cloud platform. There are solutions which are specifically built to automate factories, and they are usually built using technologies using IoT, 5G, robotics, and so on. There are smart city solutions that solutions architect work on, involving smart buildings and infrastructure, and they usually make use of IoT technologies. There are analytics types of solutions and big data solutions that solutions architects work on, and the objective of those solutions is to get business decisions and insights from the data that the organization has. And e-commerce applications is another common application, for example, which could be serving multiple regions for global customers based around the cloud. That's another common application that the cloud and solutions architect usually works on. So again, these are some of the examples, but there are many, many kinds of applications that a solutions architect usually works on, which usually build on these types of technologies. And again, these are only a sample of the technologies, not a comprehensive list of the technologies. Let's now cover some of the architectural principles which are essential for almost any software application and system. Each architect must think in terms of these principles when working on the system that they're assigned to. For example, one of the key principles of a good system architecture is building a stellar user experience in all aspects of the system. This is not just about the graphical parts of the system, but also the other aspects that impact user experience, such as performance of the system, security, and so on. Building a good user experience therefore requires that the solutions architect takes a holistic approach looking at the applications, databases, network, etc. A solutions architect also ensures to build high performance in all aspects of the system, including in the application, network, database, and so on. Resilience refers to the system's ability to recover from failure and to continue to operate serving its users. A solutions architect needs to identify potential points of failure and accordingly build resilience in all parts of the system to ensure that the overall system continues to operate reliably. One of the challenges faced by all technical teams is to ensure the availability of system resources so that the system can continue to function with good performance. But the availability of these resources must be planned, so the resources are available when the system and the application need additional computing resources. This capacity, therefore, must be built into the system. For example, the solutions architect needs to ensure that computing resources would be available when a number of users access the system at specific times. One of the hallmarks of cloud-based systems is to ensure that they can scale up or down depending on the user and system load. The scalability factor, therefore, is an important architectural consideration which solutions architects must design and plan for when working on the system. Security is another essential component of all system architectures and must be built into all layers of the system to ensure the system can't be compromised, which may result in leakage of data or the system becoming unavailable. This means security must be built into the application, the database, network, and other layers of the system. As for multi-zone deployment, today's digital and cloud systems work across large geographical regions. This, in turn, impacts the design of applications, networks, and databases, and therefore must be thought through completely in the solutions architecture process. A solutions architect plans for all potential data flows in a digital and cloud system and plans for building all the data pipelines to ensure smooth data flow. Each of the data pipeline designs ensures that the data is captured appropriately, processed, and either stored or transmitted to the next leg of the system. As it should be obvious, designing for network performance is vital to ensure that the system works at the right performance level. This is part of the solution architect's job as well. In today's environment, one of the major considerations is the overall computing hosting architecture. As is known, the strategy to operate in a hybrid and multi-cloud environment has become more popular than operating solely in one's data center. The hybrid environment refers to both the on-premises data center as well as the public cloud environment such as AWS or Azure. So this is something that the solutions architect must plan and design for in their system as part of the solutions architecture process. Building high availability in a system refers to ensuring that the system is available most of the time and any unavailability is kept to a minimum. This is done through technical means as well as ensuring processes are designed to support high availability. Fault tolerance ensures that at a technical level the system is designed to recover from failure. So fault tolerance is introduced in environments where unavailability is not accepted at all. And there are other principles too, but this should have given you an idea of the types of things that a solutions architect designs and plans for in their system. It's also important that the solutions architect considers these architectural principles when designing the network, application, database, and security of the system. In this context, the solutions architect works with the application, database, data, and security architects to ensure that these principles and characteristics are baked into all aspects of the system. In this slide, we'll look at some of the potential paths toward becoming a cloud solutions architect. As the solutions architect is a technical role, most in this role come from a technical background, such as being a developer, DevOps engineer, technical project managers, etc. After getting enough technical skills and knowledge by being in those roles, and after being a technical lead for some time, these individuals can then become the solutions architects. In those roles, they get the larger technical responsibility of large projects. After one becomes a solutions architect, the next potential career path is to continue taking on the responsibility of projects with a larger scope and more complexity. So a solutions architect progresses to become a senior solutions architect. Due to the technical nature of the role and because of the interest of some individuals, it's not uncommon to see people who continue to serve in that role for a long time. However, it's important that as technologies are changing quite rapidly, the solutions architects continue learning more skills so they can stay on top of their profession. The next potential step for solutions architects is to progress in the role of enterprise architecture, where solution architects have the technical responsibility of a given solution, and enterprise architect has the larger responsibility for the whole enterprise. In that capacity, the enterprise architect is usually responsible to create an architecture that, along with the technical architecture of the organization, is also responsible to document the business architecture of the enterprise. Once a person becomes an enterprise architect, they can easily progress to senior management roles within the organization. That can vary depending on each organization's overall management structure and their policies. As I mentioned, although some of the individuals who progress to become solutions architects have a technical background, it is not uncommon to see some individuals from a business analysis background who also can progress to become solutions architects. However, it's important in those cases that those individuals that they acquire the needed technical skills and knowledge before taking on those roles. In the next couple of slides, we'll discuss the skills that a solutions architect usually requires to be successful in their role. First, we'll look at the core skills that all solutions architects usually require. The skills that a solutions architect needs to have can vary considerably depending on a number of factors. Here we'll focus on three of them. One of the factors has to do with how an organization defines the role of a solutions architect. As we mentioned earlier, some organizations require the solutions architects to be very technical and specialists in certain areas such as cloud, application development, and so on. Others, however, require them to be not as technical, but instead expect them to oversee the overall integration of the system components. But as we can see in this diagram, the solutions architect in the majority of the cases is a technical role, even though the level of their technical knowledge can vary from being moderate to high, depending on the project's requirements and how the organization defines that role. Another factor that can influence the nature of the skills is the type of digital technologies that are used on the project. Since a solutions architect is expected to have a certain degree of technical skills, the solutions architect will be expected to be well versed in those technologies depending on the requirements of the position and the organization. So as an example, if the solutions architect is working on an IoT-based project, then obviously they would need to have those specific skills. On the other hand, if they're working on artificial intelligence and machine learning kinds of projects, then they'll need to learn those kinds of skills and so on. Another factor that can influence the level of skills has to do with the level of development or integration that may be needed on the project. Projects that are heavy in software development usually require solutions architects who have a deeper software development background, even though they may or may not be required to do software development. But then there are also projects that require a lot of integration and not as much development, and the integration is needed for the different technological components and business entities on the project. Those kinds of architects then need to have a different background. So let's look at an example. As we mentioned earlier, a digital or cloud-based project may involve the integration of a number of technologies. In those cases, the solutions architect may not need to be an expert on any one particular technology. However, if the project is heavy on one specific area, such as analytics, 5G, or IoT, then the solutions architect may be required to have more skills and knowledge in that specific technology. So the bottom line is that the skills that one requires and the depth of those skills would depend on these factors. So if we have to summarize the technical skills that are expected from a solutions architect, we can state the following. First is the system architecture kinds of skills. All solutions architects should have a very good understanding of the solutions architecture domain in general and the various architectural principles. As I mentioned earlier, these principles have to do with architecting performance, security, and other similar aspects in the overall architecture and design of the system. These principles are required regardless of whether one is building and integrating an artificial intelligence or machine learning type of system, or whether it's a 5G-based network that builds on cloud technologies. The second skill that is most needed across all solutions architects is that of cloud and virtualization and the related skills. So a solutions architect should understand the architecture of the public cloud, how they integrate with on-premises systems, the various technologies related to the deployment and running of the cloud-based systems, and so on. Again, the depth of those skills will depend on the nature of the project and whether they are required in the project or not. Also, the solutions architect should know the specific skills that are used in the project. For example, if we look at a typical digital project based on cloud, it could make use of a number of technologies such as artificial intelligence, IoT, 5G, and so on. However, depending on the specific focus, the solutions architect will be required to know those skills more than the others. So the solutions architect should have some focus. Some common focus areas include these which are listed. For example, cloud migration, AI, machine learning applications, data analytics, 5G, IoT, robotics, and so on. As we can see that all of these technologies are kind of complementary and they're different technologies. So it would be very difficult for one solutions architect to have expertise in all these technologies. So that's why their role is a bit high level, but they would be expected to have some knowledge of these technologies. Also, as we had discussed earlier, one of the key responsibilities of solutions architects is to work closely with the business community. So in this context, they're also required to have good business analysis skills. Finally, as solutions architects have a broad responsibility to work on the project, they should have strong project management skills, along with organizational change management skills as well. These skills can help them manage the project effectively and ensure that the changes introduced by the project can be introduced smoothly into the organization. In this slide, we will cover some of the soft skills which are critical for solutions architects to have. So it's not just about having the technical and functional skills that we covered earlier, but also these soft skills are of importance as well. Let's cover some of them here. First is stakeholder engagement. As the architecture of a digital and cloud system can be quite complex, involving multiple dimensions of applications, networks, databases, data, business processes, etc., the solutions architect needs to work with multiple stakeholders to realize the final system. This skill is therefore quite essential for all solutions architects, irrespective of the project and the organization. Senior leadership engagement. As the solutions architects are expected to ensure that the solution is aligned with corporate strategies and mandates, in this context, they need to be able to work with senior management and other stakeholders too. Verbal and written communication skills. Again, as the solutions architect creates a number of solutions architecture related documents and also communicates those deliverables and the contents of those deliverables with all the stakeholders, they're expected to excel in their verbal and written communication skills. Solutions architects also work as evangelists of the solution that they work on. In this context, they work with multiple stakeholders such as the business units and others to communicate the value of the solution and to get their approval. It's also quite common for solutions architects to work with multiple subject matter experts and business and technical teams and to facilitate discussions to drive to a common understanding of the problem and the solution. So in this context, the solutions architect needs to have the right facilitation skills to make this happen. As a solutions architect is a senior role in the organization, they're expected to have leadership qualities as well. So in this capacity, they provide technical and solution leadership by working with the technical teams and project managers. They also work closely with the various vendors and external solution and service providers and lead them to ensure that the delivered outcomes are aligned with the organization's expectations and requirements. Similar to the facilitation skills, the solutions architects are typically expected to create a number of presentations related to the project that they work on and to present those findings to the other stakeholders. And there are other soft skills as well, but we just covered some of the critical ones that each solutions architect needs to have as part of their skills portfolio. As we have come to the end of the course, here are some next steps that you can take to continue your journey to becoming a solutions architect. First, you can take a course on Cloud and Digital Solutions Architecture Fundamentals, which is offered by CIO Tech Central on udemy.com. There is a link in the description which you can see and click on. You can also sign up at ciotechcentral.com to review a lot of rich content on solutions architecture in digital and infotech industries. We highly recommend that you sign up, and you can get a lot of free content and some premium content as well. Again, the link is in the description. To get a free ebook related to this course, please email us at course@ciotechcentral.com. And you can also find us at Twitter at CIO Tech Central. Thank you for attending.